Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. Today we give you a presentation about study fashion, textile and costume design. So my name is Trudy, I'm from University for the Creative Arts, and we have Omar here from Leeds Arts University and Lee here from Riversbourne University, London. So now I'm handing to Lee to starting this session, and if you have any questions, please do leave your questions at Q&A session. After the presentation, we will answer your questions and then we will read out questions. Just for one point, please do not leave your personal information at Q&A session or chat box, because this session is recorded, and then due to data protection, we cannot share the recorded session if you leave any of your personal details here. Thank you so much. And Lee, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Trudy. Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from today. This presentation is probably going to take just under maybe 40-45 minutes, and it's going to cover fashion, textiles and costume design. If you're joining one of these sessions with Creative UK for the first time, it's a great thing that you're joining. It's probably one of the first times something like this has happened in the UK, where creative universities are joining forces and coming together to give out advice and guidance internationally. So it's a great initiative that's happening, and it's good to be a part of it. So yeah, let's get going. Thank you, Trudy. So what we're going to cover, we're going to talk about the UK system. Many of you will be international students or studying abroad, so we're going to talk about why it's so prestigious to study in the UK. Some advice on how to choose a university and things to look out for, things to consider, things that you might want to include in your research, how the UK higher education system works. It's very, very different to universities internationally. So we'll talk you through that, and then go into the specifics on the fashion, textiles and costume design subject areas. So we'll talk about style of teaching, the outcomes, what you can expect to see on those courses, as well as career outcomes too. We will also give you a little bit of advice on putting together your portfolio for all of those courses. So all of the creative courses at our institutions require a portfolio, so we'll give you some nice advice and guidance on how to put them together, and then talk about careers that you may be able to go into from these degrees. And then finishing up with some questions. Hopefully you have a lot for us, and then the last slide will include all of our contact information, so you'll be able to contact all three of us based on today's talk. So just starting with me and a little bit about Ravensbourne. We're a tiny little institution in North Greenwich in southeast London, right next to the O2 Arena. So if anyone's ever seen what we used to call the Millennium Dome in London, the big white tent, our building is directly opposite that. We have just under 3,000 students, and this diagram on the left-hand side sums up what we like to see from our students at Ravensbourne. These are our 3 pillars of learning. So we like you to be creative, obviously, because we're a creative institution. We like you to be inclusive and think about equality, diversity and inclusion in all of your practice, the way that you approach your work and also your outcomes. And we also love you to be integrated with industry. So working with industry is a big part of what we do. Industry contact is embedded through all 3 years of your study, as well as a 6-week placement in year 2. And then on the right hand side are just some of the amazing statistics that we have. The second one down we're particularly proud of. So 76% of all of our graduates are working in the field that they've trained in, which means that they've graduated from a degree in, let's say, fashion, and they're working in the fashion industry. So that's a little bit about Ravensbourne. I think it's over to Trudy now.
Thank you, Lee. Hi, everyone. As introduced, my name is Trudy. So here I'm just give you a bit more information about our University for the Creative Arts. So as you can see here, we are #1 specialized university in the UK, and also our business school ranked UK #7, whether you study fashion design or maybe fashion business courses, and then you will study at our fashion school, our business school. And also, of course, we have a 4 campus campuses around the UK. So later on, we will show you the map, and then you can see where we are. And for the fashion courses, you will be study at our Epsom campus, which is located in Surrey, quite close to London. It's about 25 to 35 minutes, because I myself was taking train from Epsom to London before, I think around 30 minutes maximum to London Waterloo. So our fashion students are quite regularly attending the competitions and also involved quite regularly in London Fashion Week as well. As you can see from your right hand side, those are our students' work, and the student did textile and textile printed and also printed fashion. And those are our graduate students' work for this from last year actually. And we will have more student work from this year graduate students. But if you are interested in anything, want to look at more work and give yourself a little bit more idea about how to develop your portfolio to apply for university, you can also looking at our three of us website, you give you a bit more idea. And UCA, I will say we are a quite specialized university in certain area. As I mentioned here, you can see fashion courses, of course, and also we have a business schools, and which is give you more opportunity to move into commercial side. And we also have an architecture school and graphic design, game arts, and also filmmaking, acting performance. So we're offering quite a diverse range of courses. We have 4 campuses. I just mentioned Epsom, but we do have a Farnham campus, which is in Surrey, and we have Rochester and also Canterbury campus, which is located in Kent. This is a general information about UC at the moment, but now I will passing on to Leeds Art University, Omar, so he will give you a bit more introduction about his university.
Thank you very much, Trudy, and also Ben as well. Obviously we are also part of the creative wall as well. So my name is Omar, an international officer at Leeds Arts University. You know, we're the only specialist arts university in the north of England, you know, which means we only take the arts like our counterparts as well. And throughout the years, we've actually developed a vast number of creative professionals, for example, fashion designers, filmmakers, animators, etc. So students will actually get the opportunity to collaborate across all of our courses in exciting projects. So, you know, we actually enhance their practice and development, their creative connections as well. So we are very small, friendly and supportive, because our institution is quite small, really. You're talking about a total of just over 2,500 students from over 70 different countries. So which makes it a really connective sort of society. So we are supportive, and that's why we pride ourselves to the support that we actually give to every single student. So as a student, you will actually get to know your professors on a personal level. And we've got something called an open door policy, which means that help whenever you need it. So there's no closed doors, you don't have to book an appointment or anything like that. Just you know, enter the international office or any academic that you need to see, the welfare team, careers team, they're all there to support. So we believe that this unique approach is why we were ranked #1 for student support in the Oscar Awards back in 2020. And of course, we are very proud of this as an institution. So we also receive an 87% student satisfaction rating in the National Student Survey, so which actually was the highest ranking for any specialist arts university, due to the tight-knit community that we actually developed. Moving on to Leeds a little bit, you know, I will talk about it a little bit more on the next slide, but you know, it's a very exciting city, rapidly growing city with a thriving art scene. We've got fantastic facilities as well. Throughout the years, I mean, we've just invested over 22 million in a huge refurbishment, which was completed in 2019. So we have actually won a What Uni Student Choice Award for best facilities 3 times in 6 years, the last one being in 2020. So as a student, you will have access to our state-of-the-art resources. So these will include specialist workshops, like, for example, computer suits, specialist libraries, print areas, 3D animation studios. We've got fantastic different fashion studios that students could use as well, photographic studios, filmmaking studios. We've also got a 236 music auditorium for our music students as well. So we have also got a state-of-the-art public exhibition gallery for our fashion, textile, and graphic design students actually showcase their work, not just to their peers, but to the general public as well. They've also got the opportunity to even sell their work as well, so that they can get an experience of how to create a business. So all these facilities are actually equipped to industry standards, so you will be able to produce work that meets or exceeds the demand of modern practice in art and design. Just a little bit of figure there. So 92% within the last 5 years, 92% of our graduates are in work or further education, either with us or with a different institution. So this just to show you how competitive we are in terms of the creative world. So yeah, thank you very much for that, Trudy. I will pass back the slides. I think I'll just start with the location anyway, and then let my colleagues move on as well. So you can see on the map up there, Leeds Arts University. So we actually model up between Manchester and Liverpool, just down there in the middle. So we're not actually far from Manchester. We're only about half an hour away. But Leeds is a city in the county of West Yorkshire, England. So it is around two hours north of London by train and 2.5 hours from Edinburgh. It is actually the third largest city in the UK, behind London and Manchester. You know, we've got world-renowned companies and TV stations like ITV, Channel 4. So which means opportunities for employment are vast. And the reason why I've mentioned that is because we've got quite a few of our students studying media, actually doing their placements or internships through these companies. So Leeds is the cultural, financial, and commercial heart of the West Yorkshire built-up area. So with a reported population of around just over 780,000 people. So there's plenty to see and do, you know, lots of events, festivals to attend, fantastic nightlife for our students. For example, nightclubs, bars, restaurants, cinemas, etc. So Leeds also was actually named the UK's best student city by The Independent, as it's very friendly, very diverse, and it's a rapidly growing city as well, because within Leeds, we've got 6 major universities doing multiple things. So we've got students all around the world coming over. So it's actually a very vibrant city with a young student population and a thriving art scene. So yeah, thank you very much, Trudy. I will pass it on to Lee.
Thank you, Omar. Yeah, so Ravensbourne is right in the heart of London in Zone 2, as I mentioned, opposite the O2 Arena in North Greenwich. We have 2 buildings where we split our time between teaching and learning, and then using our facilities. So our prototyping labs, our atelier for fashion students, our augmented and virtual reality labs. And being in the heart of London lends itself to a lot of employer contacts. There are lots of key businesses, post-production houses, head offices, fashion design brands located in central London. So we're on the doorstep of that, which is a great thing to be near. And I'm sure many of you either been to or heard about London before, so there's not much more I can say on that, other than it's the capital city of England, and it's a fantastic city. There's something going on every day. You can do something every day for a whole year and never do the same thing twice. It's a wonderful city, and yeah, hopefully if you come to Ravensbourne, you'll get to experience it in all its joy. Over to you, Trudy.
Thank you, Lee. Yes, you see, as I mentioned earlier, we have 4 campuses. The iron pointed actually is our Kent campus, so which is Canterbury and also Rochester. So Canterbury is quite famous for architecture. So there is a cathedral in central London, and also all the city walls with a lot of history in there. It's a quite interesting buildings. That's why the architecture school is based at Canterbury campus. And for the Epsom campus and the Surrey will be sliced moving to the I would say the bottom left of London, but not near the seaside. Of course, that will be Southampton. So it is quite close to London, as I mentioned, from Farnham, which is in Surrey, and then Farnham quite well known as craft town. So that's why we have our craft, jewelry design on campus, fine arts, and graphic design, animation, film, what else? Film and performing arts. So those kind of courses are located located in Farnham campus. And for fashion students, will be studied at Epsom campus. I mentioned a little bit at the beginning. So and also fashion school is combined with, not combined. So we have 2 schools located at Epsom campus, which is business school and the fashion school. So quite regularly, our fashion students work with business students together as well. And but most of the time, our fashion students work with, I would say, performing arts students and also film, TV production students. So they work quite closely. So, but if our students want to travel to different campus to use it like the studios place and also like print machine, everything, yes, they can. Just need to book in advance to, book the studio place and then workplace for their project making. Yeah, this is us. And thank you so much. Moving on to next slides, I think will be Omar. I'll hand it back to you.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Trudy. Thank you. Right. So yeah, I'll be talking about the first slide would be features of the UK higher education system. Basically, what you could get. So, but before I even talk about it, I just wanted to say, compared to other countries, the living and healthcare costs are reasonable in the UK. So a UK student visa is easier to obtain as well than most other countries in terms of studying. So the UK has a multicultural atmosphere that is difficult to find in many other countries as well as a student. And for example, being a fashion student, being multicultural or being very diverse is something that you have to thrive on for the industry as well. So you do meet people from all over the world and experience a diverse culture. So some of these benefits, like specialized subjects within the UK, which is great. So most creative universities in the UK are dedicated to the study of creative subjects across an exciting range of, let's say, undergraduate, postgraduate, and even further education, which is pre-degree courses, which you sometimes normally known as foundation. So you will find that nearly all staff in nearly all of our creative universities within the UK are practicing artists and designers as well. So they are very highly experienced and they have in their fields, and students benefit from excellent staff to student ratio as well. For example, my university is a very close, tight-knit community, very small institution in which the ratio between staff to student is very, very minimal. So you are known by your name, not just as a number. And this goes to my counterparts as well, for UCLA or Ravensbourne. So the creative industry are all tight-knit. Most of our entry requirements are quite the same. So there's no struggling in terms of finding what fits. So it's entirely up to you which direction you want to go into. Fixed length of study as well. So in the UK, all degrees are actually 3 years compared to other universities in other countries. For example, in America, so we'll do degrees in 4 or 5 years. So 3 years full time, your degree is complete. So which means that you are saving money in terms of more years of tuition fees, more years of accommodation, more years of spending for your living as well. So this is something that students should think about when they're looking forward in terms of coming over. So obviously, internationally recognized universities as well. So the UK higher education and qualifications have a remarkable international reputation as well, especially in the fashion industry. And the UK postgraduate degrees, as well as undergraduate degrees, are globally known by international employers as well, and government bodies, which actually create a huge number of chances to get placed with leading companies, for example, even in the fashion industry. So these are things that when you are aspired to be a fashion artist, should be thinking about. So the quality of education as well. So small group teaching is always vital, because that means that your tutor or your counselor is giving the maximum attention to all the students within the class, rather than having a huge number of students, creating a seminar or something like that, which most students don't find their voice. So because of the small group teaching sessions, students can know that they can be heard, and also if they've got any issues, it's easily dealt with as well. So within those small groups of teaching as well, you'll get the quality of education. So many countries, like to follow the UK education system as well, as it's, because of its quality, it's considered the best in the world in some areas. So the universities are inspected regularly by which is the Quality Assurance Agency, which we know it as QAA, for higher education, to assess the standards of our teaching, the learning, and the research, to ensure that it actually sets the benchmark that for accreditation. So these are things that people have to think about before moving on to their higher education. Independent learning as well. Within the UK system, we like students to express themselves, especially in the creative world. In any creative university that you go to, Leeds Arts, Ravensbourne, or Creative Arts, it doesn't matter. They want you to actually express yourself, be inspired by something, be open-minded as well. You can do projects by yourself as well as still doing projects with your peers. So the more independent you are, the more broad-minded you are, the more diverse you are, the more acceptance you are as well in other people's ideas that you can actually utilize and use. Student lifestyle is something that we all aspire to as well. Obviously, we've all been there before. We want to have the best student experience to any university that we go to. For example, the first thing that we think about is which university am I going on? Sometimes we even think about the rankings, which I think is not relevant really. It depends on where your heart is and where your mindset is and where you are happy at as well. The city is always vital as well, finding out that things are very close by for you, security wise, as well as knowing that you will be meeting students all over the world, to be more cultural, to be more diverse, to make friends. That's the number one aspect of it. Your first year of studies is the student lifestyle, in finding out all these areas to familiarize yourself within the city, and also making fantastic friends whilst you're studying, because the friends that you make at university, 99% of the time, they are friends for life. So these are things that you have to be ready to engage in. So work while you study as well. So this is the new scheme. Well, I will come to that as well anyway, but obviously as a student, you've got a student visa in which you are getting a maximum of 20 hours term time. During term time is 20 hours. After term time is entirely up to you in terms of the amount of hours that you're working, if you've got a part-time job. But always check with your international team, or if the universities have got a SIAC team, which is an immigration officers department, to actually advise you on what you can and can't do. But there is term time for you to actually engage in work whilst you're studying. That will give you a bit of experience. It doesn't matter what sort of work it is. You're not restricted in what type of work you are doing. The only thing that you are restricted from is the hours that you have to look out for. Our government have also brought in something called the graduate immigration route, which is at the bottom, graduate prospects internationally. So the UK has actually announced a 2-year graduate immigration route to follow international students to work or search for work at any skill level after they've graduated from an undergraduate course or at a higher level as well. So international students were permitted to stay in the country for only 4 to 6 months after completing their studies previously. But however, under the new rules, you're actually allowed to stay in the country for up to 2 years. But this is something that you have to apply to. It's a very easy process, but you will have to wait until your institution or university advise you that you have now completed your course before you can apply. Do not apply before your course finishes. You have to actually wait. So within those 2 years as well, the benefits are you're not restricted to what sort of job. You can go into the actual industry that you were studying on, or if you fancy something else which is not part of the industry, you can actually apply for any jobs. You can work on any hours. There's absolutely zero restriction in what you could do, and it will actually shape your careers as well, because it will give you that experience, not just studying in the UK, but working in the UK, which looks a lot better on your CV internationally. Thank you. Next slide, please, Trudy. Right. Yeah. So the next slide, how to choose a university. So the first one I've got there is multi-faculty or a creative specialist. which is good. So multi-faculty would be a university that doesn't just specialize in creative art like most of our universities are, but they could be universities that do different faculties like social sciences, businesses, sports, but also have a creative side as well. So these are other universities that you can apply to study your creative art. But you'll have to realize that you will, go through some of the same modules, but it might not be an in-depth sort of creative study, really. So my best idea for people wanting to do a creative subject is best to actually research on creative institutions or universities that are just specialized in those subject areas, because you will get the full Monty, which is the full experience and the full sort of quality education from those sort of universities. But at the same time, a degree is a degree as well, because even if you study with a multi-faculty university, it's not a problem at all, because you will end up with the same quality of education. So rankings and reputation. So university rankings can be highly influential, really. So they can help prospective students to narrow down their choice of institution or university, and of course they also give universities something to brag about anyway. But it's not as important as people tend to think it is, because you can, it all depends on facilities as well as your surroundings, the quality of teaching. Every single university within the UK is accredited. They are audited, they are checked to make sure that the curriculums, the modules that they're delivering are absolutely on point. So don't be fooled by rankings, really, because if a university is accredited to actually deliver higher education, they have to abide by those rules. And if they fail, obviously students won't be going there because the government won't allow it. So it's entirely up to you as well. If rankings is something that you like to do, fine. But I'm just trying to tell you that it's not something that you can just concentrate on. League tables are all there to look at. Universities brag about it all the time, which is fantastic. Then students can then choose, but always look at the score structure, the specification, the quality of teaching, the alumni. Talk to students. These are the best points. These are the best ranking. Talk to previous students that were there. Talk about their experience. Tell them, ask them to tell you about the advantages, the disadvantages they face while studying in there. Facilities that they've actually had, friends they've made, the environment that they've been living in. If it's in London, if it's in Manchester, if it's in Leeds, it doesn't matter. If it's in Bournemouth, it absolutely doesn't matter. You just have to be comfortable where you will be. Student satisfaction I've mentioned, employment statistics as well, which is quite important, because at the end of the day, you are studying to actually use that tool to gain employment in the field that you love. So make sure that you do a bit of research to find out how many students from that institution have moved on to either study further or even have employment through that same subject area or somewhere else. Location I've mentioned. Make sure that you're comfortable with the location. It could be #1 ranked in the UK, but the location might not favor you. So what would you do? So these are important factors that you have to keep in your mind. Can I visit or speak to a student? Absolutely, of course. Nearly every institution in the UK, within their website, you can actually chat to their current students, including my university, my peers that are with me at the moment. I mean, nearly every institution would actually welcome potential applicants to speak to current students about their experiences. Thank you. Through the next slide. Yeah, so moving on. So this main presentation obviously is about fashion, textile, and costume design. So what are they? So design drawing. So design drawing could include 2D and 3D aspects of drawing, sketches, and collages. So these are very, very important in terms of, let's say, when you're putting in your portfolio. The fashion school would want to see how you set about your platform in these sort of aspects of drawings and sketches. How you actually maintain your lines, how neat they are, and your skill level as well. Focus it, moving from 2D and 3D. They want to see some sort of aspects of multimedia skill set. With 3D as well, there are different models, sculptures, garments that you can make. So the world's your oyster, really. There is no right or wrong thing to do. It's entirely up to you. If you want to focus on all these aspects that I'm talking about in terms of modeling, sculptures, garments, I mean, it's entirely up to you. You can put it all together within your portfolio, or you can just use two areas and actually create your portfolio via that. You can just concentrate on models and create quite a lot, do a bit of research on them, garments as well. So anything that you're doing, just do some research, create some drafts, and then put it together. But also make comments on any sort of drafts that you do, because the course leaders would like to read a story of how you come across with that sort of idea. Where did you get the inspiration from? How did you put it together? Um, Conceptualization, dyeing, photographs, prototyping. So moving on to photographs, which is quite important in the fashion industry. You could actually use objects that inspire you, for example, materials and patterns. These can be things that you can take fantastic clear pictures on to actually show how it was done. I mean, so that also gives you that multimedia aspect of not just having a fashion design head, but you can actually do something different as well. Textures and environments through photographs, landscapes and figures. These could be, landscape of areas that you can use as, runway. It could be anything, figures that you can use to actually showcase your work, your designs that you've created. Buildings as well. These are very, very, very important. Portraits. So these are all things that you could actually walk towards in developing your portfolio for your chosen course. Digital as well. Within digital, it's quite important to know that you can actually use graphics or images, or you can do digital drawings. That also goes on to animation as well, but we won't mention that anyway because we're just concentrating on fashion. But within the fashion world, you can use digital images, drawings, which is like the sketches of something that inspires you to create, or the graphics of that creation as well. Pattern cutting has been put in there. It's something that you have to be a bit skilled on as well, but you can do practicing. Experimentation, risk taking is part of all these aspects of designs that you're seeing. You have to experiment and take a risk to fail, to ensure that if you do try it again, you can learn from your mistakes. So do not be scared if you do fail in terms of creating something. You just have to get back to it and then learn from the mistake that you've previously done. In the creative world, mistakes are part of your learning journey. All right, thank you very much. Next slide, please. Right, so similar degrees and different outcomes. So for fashion, you've got heavy focus on designing for the catwalk, high fashion, high street, and brands. So these are things that you focus on during fashion. So comparing it to textile, which is a practical based course, heavily focused on hand skills and traditional art skills. So it's more of a practical element. So this is why most institutions that deliver textile designs, for example, our institution and some of my colleagues' institutions, during the pandemic, it has been very, very difficult for students because they cannot just go online and do their courses, their assignments, their projects, because it's all hands-on. So now that, thank God, nearly most things are getting back to normal within the UK. Face-to-face teaching is nearly back on track, over 90% of the institutions within the UK. So this means that our fashion design, textile design students are very happy in coming back and getting back to doing what they love doing, which is a practical element of their course. Costume design as well is actually focusing on tailored projects that sits at the heart of the TV, film, and theatre industries. So if you're doing custom design as well, you're not just doing custom designs, you're actually collaborating it with filmmaking students, which enhances your wider mindset of working together. So you are doing multiple projects with students studying filmmaking, even as far as graphic design. Sometimes you might have to collaborate with those sort of students to create certain projects, or you might even have your own projects and invite them to join in. so that you can have a fantastic end product. Moving back to fashion, you also focus on end-to-end design work, focus on projects, collections, and garment construction, which I've mentioned previously on your sketches and drawings. Compared to textiles, it can lead to careers in multiple fields, such as fashion, so because they go hand in hand, textiles, product designs, interior design, and freelancing. So most creative students, for example, even our students, are going into freelancing as well, because most of them want to work for themselves. They want to be entrepreneurs. So the world's your oyster. For costume design, usually collaborative with other courses on large productions, which I've mentioned previously, that you collaborate with quite a lot of other students from other subject areas. Similar designs skill sets applied in the narrow field of costume as well. So back to fashion, so pathways for digital fashion, sustainability, and alternative products. So sustainability is very, very important, because obviously, we're all aware of the environment. So the fashion industry is moving to an area in which everything it does wants to be green. So sustainability is something that will be part of your modules, to come up with new ideas of creating products that's not just look good on you, but it's also better for the environment as well. So compared to textiles, so there's long studio sessions and fewer lectures, often self-led projects. So most of the creative subject, not just textiles, you are often self-led into your different projects that you're doing, but also, you have to collaborate with other course students as well, course subject areas as well. But because it's hands-on and it's practical, there's long studio sessions and fewer lectures. Compared to custom design, there's small class sizes due to the nickel nature of the course, which is very, very understanding. So very similar to textile design. Back to fashion again, a comprehensive design portfolio central to application with a lower grade requirement. So that speaks for itself, really. All we advise is put your application in. If your portfolio is absolutely, we're not saying that we need a polished portfolio, but that will be compared to your academic requirements as well. But every institution have a similar academic entry requirements within not just the creative institutions, but also the multi-faculty institutions as well. Moving on to textile design, so portfolio central to application with a lower grade requirements. Like I said before as well, even if you do not meet normally the UCAS entry levels, but your portfolio is good, universities have a system in which this could be reviewed. Pass over to the school, course leaders have a look at your work and decide if you will be eligible to actually enter. I mean, we don't just accept every student to come in, because we don't want every student to just come in and struggle. So we want to make sure that even if you've got a lower academic standard of agreement, but the course leader could see a potential, this is something that they could decide on. And if they can pass on the battle to say, yes, I'm happy to work with this student and help them progress further, that's something that you will have to check with the individual institutions that you are applying to. A tailored portfolio central to application with a lower grade requirement. So it's exactly the same again. So often avant-garde and at the cutting edge. So that's for the fashion design. Right, thank you very much, Trudy. And I think I will pass it on to Lee.
Thank you, Omar. That was really, really good. So moving on to portfolios, all of our courses, all of our institutions probably require some sort of portfolio or show reel or some kind of practical work requirement to get onto the courses. So hopefully the next couple of slides will give you a little bit of advice on putting that together. It is going to be fairly general because it needs to apply to multiple courses and multiple disciplines. The first thing I think to say is that your portfolio is all about you. So we want to see your journey. We want to see your thought processes, your skills, your abilities, who has influenced you, and really get inside your head. I think, when we get applicants to university, if we could kind of cut your head open and look inside, that's what we do, but we can't do that. So we need to see your evidence through your work, and your work should speak for itself. So when you're putting your portfolio together, what you need to bear in mind is that first things first, you're applying to multiple different institutions, and all those institutions, although they need a portfolio, they will have different requirements for that portfolio. They may ask for slightly different amounts of images. They might ask for 4 projects over 5 projects. So portfolios generally need to be what we call built. They need to be collated and put together. It's a few years ago, kind of pre-pandemic, I would say portfolios, when you were attending an interview, you would just kind of turn up with your big kind of black folder with all your work in and your sketchbooks, and you would just kind of go through that with an interviewer. And because of the pandemic, and because of either interviewing online or moving to a portfolio only kind of application system where you don't have a formal interview anymore, you just submit your portfolio, it means that the requirements for your portfolio are completely different from institution to institution. And you do have to take a little bit more care on how you're putting that portfolio together, because different institutions will require slightly different things and have different focuses as well, which means your work will change from one institution to the other when you're submitting it. So some key features that you want to think about with your portfolio. The first is being bold. We want to see big ideas in the projects that you're taking on, in the subject matter that you're tackling. We want to see that you're really thinking in a grander scale, because the projects that you do at university compared to the projects you do at school or college or sixth form or wherever you are, generally the projects are bigger in scale. So we need to see that you've got that attention to the big picture and an eye for detail. Obviously, your portfolio needs to appeal to the viewer, and generally a good way of doing that is tailoring your portfolio and thinking about what the viewer wants to see. If you're applying for a fashion design course, generally what we want to see is fashion design work. Obviously, you could include things like photography in there. You could include maybe product design or accessories in there. But generally, if you're applying for a fashion design course to do garment construction, we want to see clothing, and we want to see clothing design sketches. So put yourself in the shoes of the interviewer and think, what do they want to see? What do they teach? And what would I need to put in my portfolio to really hold their attention and make them really engage with your portfolio and say, wow, well, this person's got a really amazing portfolio. And we also want to see your potential. And that's the reason that we ask for projects. So a project would be a whole end-to-end piece of work. So we would look for your initial research, your mood boards, your first designs, through to your reworking, your iterations and your redesigns, and then also the final finished product. So if we were to take a dress or a skirt, for example, we would want to see your background research on what kind of dress or skirt you want to make, through to your first designs on that, your annotations on the kind of fabric that you'd be using, perhaps some samples embedded in your work, and then kind of initial designs, redesigns, and then the final finished piece, whether that's photographed, whether that's brought with you to your interview. And that's the whole life cycle of the project that we want to see. And the reason that we want to see that is so that we can understand your potential. A project at your school, your college, or your sixth form will generally take you maybe a couple of months, maybe 2-3 months. But when you get to university, those projects are longer in size and scope. So seeing a lot of projects in your portfolio tells the viewer, okay, this person can handle a project that takes a whole year, which is your final major project in year 3. And that's generally a year-long process. If not longer. I was speaking to students yesterday for film production, and they've been planning their final major project since year 1. They've had this whole mapped out process of where they want to end up, what kind of project they want to produce for their final piece. So we want to see your potential. And that's not to say that your work has to be amazing. It doesn't have to be the finished article. We're not expecting you to be the next Vivienne Westwood or Mary Quant, or even the next Kanye West. But we want to see your potential, and we want to see that you have a higher ceiling of learning to go on to bigger and better things based on your portfolio. Next slide, please, Judy. So trying to tailor it a little bit to fashion design, thinking of my institution, and I would imagine UCA and Leeds Arts University are very, very similar in terms of what they require from you as an applicant. But for Ravensbourne, we ask for anywhere from 80 to 100 plus sketches in a sketchbook. So a big part of fashion design is drawing and illustration, and having those traditional art-based skills. So we'd like to see a lot of sketches, and that just gives us an idea of your skill level, your ability, and also that you really fundamentally understand the nature of designing for the fashion industry, because it's very different to designing for products or designing architecture or different disciplines within the design world. And then for things like costume design or textiles, you would probably, and also fashion really, you would end up with hopefully a few finished garments. I think the requirements over the last couple of years in the pandemic have kind of lowered a little bit. A lot of people have missed education. A lot of people are certainly outside of the UK. You may still be in some form of restriction or government lockdown. So you may not have had traditional access to your facilities or courses or rooms in your school, your college, or your sixth form to be able to make that work as previous years would have. So the requirements, I think, are slightly lower, certainly for the last couple of years, but they are kind of creeping back up again. So most of these requirements are probably pre-pandemic requirements. I would say we would take portfolios that have a little bit less than this in, but it's just good to give you a benchmark and a rough idea of where and how much you should include in your portfolio. And over those kind of 100 sketches, that would be embedded within your projects. And we'd probably like to see somewhere between 4, 5 to 6 projects. And that just shows you can work on a wide variety of projects. You can work on a range of different styles of clothing, from trousers to suits, to dresses, to skirts, and so on. But editing down your number of pieces is also essential. So as well as including lots and lots of sketches, you do also need to keep your portfolio quite concise and trim. And I know that sounds very counterproductive, but whilst we want to see lots and lots of sketch work, you can include lots and lots of multiple sketches on one page. So your pages are probably what we would look to keep down in your portfolio. So I would say no more than, if you're submitting a digital portfolio, probably no more than 20 to 25 pages. I think after that, it can get a little bit tedious and it can get a little bit repetitive. So think about the work that's going into your portfolio, and not everything that you produce has to go into there. And this goes back to my previous slide, where your portfolio should be built and it should be curated, and you should be putting things in your portfolio that really are relevant to the course that you're applying for. So if you have pieces of work from different subjects, maybe you're doing the IB, or you're doing A levels, or your home country qualifications, where you do slightly different creative subjects, if that work is relevant, then you can include it in your portfolio. But if it's for something like fashion design, if the work isn't really relevant, let's say it's graphic design, or it's logos, or it's film or photography work, generally that's not going to be relevant for your portfolio. So I would probably leave that stuff out, unless it's situated within the fashion world. You want to consider the order that you show your working. So I'm not sure if Trudy and Omar agree with this, but I would always start with your best work first. And in terms of, particularly for interviews, you know, each university may have different interview lengths. Some universities might not interview you at all. And so you never know who's looking at your portfolio. You never know how long they're going to look at your portfolio. So if you include your best work at the beginning, it makes sure that your best work is always going to be seen by the viewer. And particularly that's important for courses that interview, because if your interview is only half an hour, and you've got a really comprehensive portfolio and all your best work is at the end, you may get to the end of your interview and you haven't even got to your best work yet. And then you're scrambling around with the tutor saying, oh, would you just mind if I show you this? Or would you just mind if I show you my work at the end, because I think it's my best work. So always start with your best work first, and try to keep it from project to project to project. Keep your work making sense and telling a story as you go through. And if you are going to an interview, consider how you present it. Again, different universities operate in different ways, and some may want you to talk through your portfolio. Some may have looked at your portfolio in advance and then are just coming to interview with questions. So different courses, different universities, everyone does everything different. So so bear that in mind when you're putting your presentation together, and think of it as a piece of music. Give it a beginning, middle, and end, and tell a story about your portfolio and how it came to that. And I think I've covered the end point there, but yeah, different courses, different requirements. So your portfolio always has to be built. Next slide, please, Trudy. So just very quickly looking at some student work. So this is Ravensbourne's catwalk show from our graduate degree show in 2020. And this is the kind of things you can look forward to from a fashion design degree, not just at Ravensbourne, but other universities as well. You will make a final collection. So all of these models here are exhibiting, I guess, the best piece, the best outfit from all of our fashion design students. And you can see there's probably about 30 models there, and that mimics the class sizes that we have at Ravensbourne. Yeah, next slide, Trudy. And I think this is some of your work from UCA. If you want to talk a little bit about that, Trudy.
Sure, I will do. Okay, those are the slides is from fashion textile or fashion textile print. Fashion printed textile courses. That's all our students work, and also students who study the textile courses. They develop a lot of project like furnitures and also interior as well. As you can see, it's a lot of fabric going on over there, and then it's lots of hand skills involved in their project as well. So it's pretty amazing how students being, the creative, you can see all the colors are quite bright, and also student made some textile and printed on actual maybe like I would say like actual I would say project things, and then they can print on the like I would say scarf, and also print on the cushions or cushion on the printing on the t-shirts. So they made something and they take a photo of it, and then they use the print machine to print out all the design and everything. So it's pretty amazing. So when you study textile, it doesn't have to be always making sense. It can be you make something and also you print out, and then you print out the fabric if you want, and then there is a lot of areas. So those are just examples from this year's students, how they did their projects day by day on campus. So yeah, I think it's pretty amazing how student downloads works. I think, let me see. Okay, that's my slides then. So I'm to carry on the right now. I'm talking about a bit more about the career once you study fashion, textile, or costume design. For the careers, as you can see here, you can be, if you study fashion, you can be fashion designer, or you can be, when you study fashion design, it can be involved a lot of tailoring and then making actual garments. So there is a lot of career you can go for after you study fashion courses, and also like fashion textile and the costume design as well. At UCA, I'm pretty sure same with other both institutions here today. So when you study fashion, I think the area covers quite a lot. It doesn't restrict you to only focus on actual designing, drawing, and also can involve a lot of hand skills. And also our students quite regularly doing a lot of industry works and light projects during their studies. So I'm pretty sure we all have a pretty amazing industry link as well. So that will be involved a lot of works. So the career you can find ACOM students can be becoming like brand manager if you more into want to be like fashion business side, and also you can be like product design, or some student, okay, I want to taking on further step to doing master degree or even PhD research. If you are really interested at more slides to academic side, also you want to do further research about any of the project you're doing. So student can involve the teaching as well, and also design for textile industry, design management. You can also start up your own business as well, our craft workshops. So the photos here showing you is a student who actually study fashion, but they in the end they want to develop themselves into more like branding, imaging. They take a lot of photography during their studies, and you can see from this because we have a lot of students fashion design works actually the making thing, but here I'm showing you is more like fashion imaging, branding, also product furniture design, interior design. So they kind of all need the expert from fashion fashion side and involved with a lot of designing, and also you can see students print out the magazine, everything. So here is the career you can develop yourself into once you study fashion or textile or costume design. You can work for the film industry as well. And what would you say for now you can do it, just keep exploring yourself and go to open days and then see to take the course as well. I believe there is a lot of summer courses, short courses, and also during the open there will be a lot of workshop as well and seminars you can attend. And also if you're international student, you cannot physically attend the university, there will be a virtual tours as well. I believe from 3 of us at university, we all have virtual tour on our website, so you can go on there to look at the campus, look at the workplace, and then studio place, and also attending a lot online events as well. So the online events normally hosted by the university staff and also academic tutors as well. So they will share their experience, and then there will be a very good opportunity for you to know, to engage with the tutor directly to understand how to develop your project, how to make your portfolio, and what's the admission process. And also do some research about the courses as well. Fashion design, I would say in general speaking, all the UK university probably it's a bit similar in terms of fashion design course, but each university are very specialized in some certain areas, and also do looking at the workplace as well, and also industry, that's really important. And also time management is really important. If you are planning to apply to study abroad, you need to make your application early as possible, because that will be not just involved with your portfolio, your admission process, also involved with like visa application if you do need a study visa in the UK. So you need to start early, and in terms to give yourself a bit more time to get everything ready for your visa, and also accommodation, everything. So you need to have a very good time management. I would recommend start your application process as soon as possible. And if you have a question, don't afraid to ask. We are very friendly university here, and then you always welcome to ask a lot of questions. If you have any question now, please do put in the chat box. We can answer your question later. But you can also get in touch with us directly after the session as well. And also do contact international admissions team if you have a question about admissions. But if you want to know more about the course, you can always get in touch with the tutor as well. I believe on our website also listed the tutor's contact detail and what's their background as well. And make the decision based on what's right for you. And I would say always follow your heart and do exactly what you want to do, because I made a mistake. I was pushed to study something I really not enjoying, and I wasted my 3 years, and I changed the major I really enjoying. So do follow your heart, and just do exactly what you want to do. And then when you're studying, you're really enjoying, and also enjoying the environment. And yeah, you can put a lot of effort on it. When you're not enjoying the course, you won't really work hard to that will reflect your result in the end as well. So basically that's I think everything from me. And then here's our contact details here. So just put it in here, and you can contact us and look at our website and just find more information. Thank you. Shall I hand it back to Lee, and then you can?
Yeah, thank you, Trudy.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm aware you need to leave, so myself and Omar can take questions from anyone.
Lovely. Thank you. Lovely to see you guys today.
Thanks, Trudy.
Thank you, Trudy. Thank you. See you later. Thank you.
So we just have a couple of minutes left. If anyone does have any time for questions, you can see our contact information there. So if anyone does want to contact us after the session today or later on, you can always reach us using the email addresses below. It also includes our institution's website addresses as well. If you want to check out any of our courses online, you can do that. So it's uca.ac.uk or rave.ac.uk or leeds-art.ac.uk. So just wait a couple of minutes to see if there's any questions coming in.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but like Lee says, yeah, you can find all of our information at the bottom. Whoever wants to ask any questions, we are happy to oblige. Oh, just to mention as well, the sessions course lead will follow up with some sort of information chat after the session. That's after every session. And I will also advise that there will be more sessions later on this afternoon and this evening. So whoever wants to get a bit more in-depth information about the creative wall in the UK, please, join these sessions down the line. I'm sure there's a portfolio session later on, and there's another counseling session as well. So yeah, everyone else can join in if they wish to.
Okay, it doesn't look like any questions are coming in, Omar, and I think it's 10 o'clock. So yeah, I guess we'll bring the session to a close. Thank you everyone for attending. It's been great to see you all here. As Omar said, we'll be following up after the session, and there is lots more happening for the rest of today that you can get involved with as well. So yeah, stay safe. Hopefully we will hear from you soon. Thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Bye.